I've seen the phrase StoryBrand thrown around left and right. And even as a marketer, I have a degree in marketing and someone who's been in digital marketing for over 8 years, I still had no idea what in the world StoryBrand was. So today we have someone who is licensed in StoryBrand, and Lauren is going to be sharing how our content can really showcase our customers' journey and what their fears and their struggles are in a way that feels good, is ethical, and gets results and gets people to buy. We also talk through almost a live coaching of here's my story brand. Does this make sense? Does this look right? What am I missing? And I'm hoping that that will allow you to see where you can shift and refocus your efforts as someone who is creating content for yourself. Please join me in welcoming Lauren to the podcast. Hello, Lauren. I am very excited to chat with you today. If you could start by telling everyone who you are, what you do, and about your podcast.
I would love to. My name is Lauren Cockerell. I am a business owner and podcaster. My daily work is a public relations and marketing firm based in Fort Worth, Texas. We're a boutique firm focusing on strategy and public relations and content marketing and just making sure everything is crisp and clear to your audiences across multiple channels. And then I also have a podcast called The Impatient Entrepreneur, which is a storytelling podcast focused on the entrepreneurial journey. It is a very lonely journey, as any business owner listening can attest to. And so it's a little bit of an asynchronous community as we learn from each other and are inspired by each other's journeys. And it's been a lovely gift. And it's one of my favorite parts that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I love that. And it's very interesting. When did you start your entrepreneurial journey? Like what year?
I started my company, Quidar & Co. in 2017 when I was 8 months pregnant with our second kid after being laid off of a corporate job.
There you go. Yeah, it's interesting because
hard launch.
Yeah, I think about that because I started my entrepreneurial journey. I was more doing side hustle stuff, working underneath some agencies before taking mine full time because I really just loved my corporate job and I didn't have any interest in changing that at all. Mm-hmm. And because I started in the mommy entrepreneur space, I feel like I found a pretty solid group of friends and like entrepreneur friends really quickly, which I think really helped me be able to. There are a few that I still am in contact with today that I still have great relationships with today. And to your point of, entrepreneurship can be so lonely, but I think once you find your people, like your stories and the things that you share on your podcast, once you find those people, they can be truly lifelong friends.
Yes.
Even if you go different directions, right? In your business or your life or whatever, like there are still people that have gone back to corporate and I'm still friends with them and I still chat with them. It might not be about business stuff so much and it's maybe less than it was before, but I still have those connections and I love that so much, right? Like, especially if for people who are in either complementary businesses to yours or have similar interests, that always really helps. So I think finding your group of people is so important and honestly can make or break your business. So I love that you're sharing those stories.
I'm fortunate to be a part of two communities, which is sort of the inspiration for that, like the antidote for this loneliness, because I'm a StoryBrand certified guide. So I'm part of that community of, 700 marketers worldwide. And so being in a community with them, I mean, they're like my own personal Google. And I have a lot of, like you say, complementary partners, designers and things like that we're able to pull in and grow our business if we need to, depending on the client needs. And then I'm also part of the Entrepreneurs Organization Accelerator Program. And that has provided a lot of community, more specific to the nuts and bolts of business growth, but that has been so life-giving and has really pulled away some of the loneliness or even just, having the bat phone to call somebody like, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with this. Have you ever experienced this before? And to know that, it's kind of like the early stage of motherhood where you're up at night in the middle of the night with your baby. You're like, am I the only one going through this right now?
Yeah.
Knowing that you're not is just really kind of pulls you back from the ledge a little bit at times.
Yes. Yeah. All new mothers can attest to that, and seasoned mothers as well. And we
Mhm.
don't forget those first 2 years
No.
are always so difficult. Yeah. Anytime that I'm like giving advice for people on like how to do things or what to do, I'm like, if you're a new mom or just forget it. Give it a couple years, then get into it. But yeah, these steps don't always apply to everybody. And I think that it really depends on your season in life, right? How much you're able to show up either in your content, especially because most of us, we don't have a team of people that we can
Mhm.
hire to show up on social media or to create consistent content. And so I
Mhm.
think that it's important that we do what we can and we create space for ourselves of a consistency that matches our capacity rather than a consistency or a frequency that people just say that you should do.
Beautifully said. I 100% agree.
So you mentioned StoryBrand,
Mhm.
and I am very excited to chat with you about this topic because I have no idea. And like I've seen it thrown around. I have a degree in marketing, but StoryBrand's not taught in college, at least
Not yet.
not when I went.
Not
Yeah,
everywhere.
not when I went. Yeah. So break it down for me a little bit for
Mhm.
someone who has no idea what it is. Obviously, I could Google, but I knew that I was going to have this conversation with you and I wanted your perspective.
Right. Well, I've been a certified guide since 2019, and it was one of those. I'd been a business owner for a little bit, and I love, and I find this to be true with a lot of entrepreneurs as well. Is I love to learn, and I love to continuously add to my bag of tricks and strengthen the methodologies and service delivery. And I came up for air in early 2019 after, having a new baby, having a new business. I was like, okay, I'm ready for something new. I'm ready to zhuzh things up a little bit. And I was listening to the podcast. It was at the time called Building a Story Brand podcast. It's now Business Made Simple, I believe. And I just was listening. I love what they were talking, talking about storytelling in a way that puts the customer first, which was such a breath of fresh air, particularly from the world of IT that I'd been in. I mean, it was all about speeds and feeds and
Yeah.
servers, and like it was just sort of generic messaging, and I didn't love it. But talking about the problems of your customers and how you are uniquely suited to solve them. And it was just such a breath of fresh air. And I found out that I could go to Nashville at the time to go through their certification process and become a guide. And I just was like, yes, that's for me. So I applied and was accepted to their program and flew out. It's now a virtual session through COVID, but now they're able to do a lot more with that. So back in the day.
Yeah. I know.
But since then, it's been interesting to add that to our client offerings and to really put a focus on clarity. I mean, that was obviously always the goal, to be crisp and clear, but to do it in a way that was unique to every single client and to really take the focus away from, well, back in 1997, my grandfather started my company with 2 trucks and, 10 offices later, here we are. And like, you've seen these websites.
Yeah.
And where are you in the customer? Where are you the
Mm.
customer reflected in that? Nowhere. And we can't help it. We are selfish creatures, human beings. Like, I mean, we're looking at each other on this Riverside app. How many times are you looking at yourself, and how many times are you looking at me?
Yeah.
We're drawn to our own image. If someone says your name in a crowd, you're very tuned into hearing that. It's not a bad thing that we are just innately selfish creatures, but it's helpful to know that. And so when you build out marketing, when you build out communications, if you are presenting an image of success, of what life looks like on the other side of doing business with you, showing what the end result is versus, a blank page of you and your 2 trucks and 10 offices. It's just the results are astounding. And it's just a methodology of making it so easy to do business with you. It's been really transformative. There are StoryBrand guides out there who run a StoryBrand business. Like they really only sell StoryBrand products like brand messaging, website wireframe, sales funnels, all that. We do that as well, but it's really just a part of everything else we do. Like I said, that making sure everything is across the channel, from your news releases to your social content, to your websites, just your email newsletter, all of that. But the thing in common is keeping your customer first. So it's a really wonderful methodology. I highly recommend people check it out, whether it's the podcast or the books, Building a Story Brand. They also have Marketing Made Simple. There's a university online. There's tons of resources out there if you're doing it yourself. And then of course there's guides like me and a couple hundred others around the world who can walk you through it. But I was saying, put your customer first. Like, you have to show up as the guide, not the hero. So that's why we're certified guides. The customer is the hero. If you think about your favorite movie or story, you think about the person who's struggling through life. There's always someone walking alongside them and helping them through the trials and tribulations. And so that is your job as the business owner to say, like, customer, I know what you are going through. I know whether you're providing a food service, like, I know you're hungry tonight. I'm going to make it easy for you. All you have to do is click here and I'm going to bring you this fresh, delicious meal or whatever that is. And just like really empathizing with their pain and then showing their solution. And so it's really lovely once you get into it and understand it and start to use it. And then as you get more sophisticated with it over time and really dig deeper, like, okay, everyone's frustrated, but like, what's the next level? Like, kind of digging in
Hmm.
deeper and getting to know your customers more and more and more, and like really understanding what they're going through and being creative with how you deliver that message.
Wow. So it's very interesting because I'm thinking about all of these things, right, that you see on social media or
Mm-hmm.
in my inbox or even content, blog posts, videos. And a lot of it is, I did this and I was able to accomplish this and you can too. And I like
And
what
where are
you're
you
saying
in
is
that?
completely different. Right, exactly. It's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
can I imagine myself drinking Mai Tais on the beach? Sure. Every day? No. Like, I don't really want to. I like what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I like how I'm able to support clients. And I'm curious, like, how do we marry this idea of putting the customer story in there while still reflecting ours,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because in content, you hear, okay, yes, you can be educational, but you got to have your personality in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do you do that? And also add in that element of the person that you're trying to speak to. How do you kind of mesh all of that together?
Yeah. Well, it's not just as we food is always easy to talk about. Everybody's hungry.
Yeah.
Ready for lunch. So, if you think about, like, say you're a personal chef or something like that, and you're empathizing with being a busy parent who wants to provide a delicious, nutritious meal for their family, but oh my God, if I have to think about what's for dinner one more time, I'm just walking out the front door into traffic. And so, like, that's what they're feeling, but that's not what you provide. You are providing that easy solution. Like, here, and here is how it's different. Like, there's 20 different recipes to choose from. We can mix and match it for you. You can do it yourself. You always want to do like a 3-step process to show how easy it is to do business with you. And, like, whether it's maybe you're honing in on folks who have dietary sensitivities or something like that. So like a celiac subset of the customer, it's like, okay, well, we're in a gluten-free kitchen and there are delicious recipes that are kid friendly. And every day a new box shows up on your doorstep that's recyclable, with all you have to do is put in the oven and dinner's ready in 10 minutes. Obviously, this is a made up company, but it sounds great. Uh, but then, so you empathize with what the customer is going through. Then you showcase your authority, which is where you get to really talk about yourself. Like, you're a cordon bleu chef and you also have celiac, so you know what it's like. And you've been through all these nutrition training courses. And you are scanning your kitchen 10 times a week to make sure it stays allergen free, whatever it is. But like, that's where the creativity comes into play. So it's like, once you have made that overture to connect with the audience and to say like, I get it, I'm here for you, I'm going to get you safely to the other side, then you're able to talk through like what you're offering and to inspire them and then like, and all you have to do is step 1, visit our website. Step 2, check out which plan makes sense for you. Step 3, putting your credit card on what day you want your delivery. Boom, you're done. Time back on your schedule. You never have to think about dinner again. Free cancellations.
Oh
Sign me
man.
up.
Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't have any of those, but like nutritional desires to like take things out of my cabinets, but the idea of just having a meal plan,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
easy. And that's why I used every plate for a very long time. Because they were like, here's all the recipes, here's all the food you
Yeah.
need. 3 nights a week, you don't have to worry. It's all here. You got
Hmm.
everything you need. And we
Hmm.
were trying new things, which was also really fun. That's how they got me.
Hmm.
So I'm going to very selfishly kind of talk through this with you, giving
Let's
people
do it.
examples, service providers. All right. So if I'm talking specifically to my type of ideal client, I would say, you're feeling overwhelmed with your podcast. You feel like you're just running on a wheel, churning out content, constantly wondering if it's working. Been
Hmm.
there, done that. I see it. I've worked with clients. We've had over 50 clients now that we've worked with, launched over 25 podcasts, making it easy, taking everything off the plate from the content planning all the way through to the marketing, and making sure that your podcast not only is easy for you, but also aligns with your values, because we dig deeper into the actual audio to make sure that we're taking things out that aren't aligned with your values, which goes back to
Hmm.
like them helping them self-select out of like, yes, that's cool, you do a lot, but I don't really need that level of editing. Or maybe that's really important to me. Yes, that sounds perfect, right? And then being able to go through, this is how we work together. You get this, these are the benefits, these are the pros, and the book a call. Yes, let's chat.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
how does that sound?
Yeah, I would love to know, like, so what does success look like for me then? So you've taken it off my plate, like, great. Love that. Is it for hobbyist podcasters as well as like, is it generating revenue? Like, what goals are you reaching for me? And then, one thing to also include, so the CTA, the call to action is to book a consultation. Is there something if I'm not ready? Like, I'm still kicking the tires. I'm not 100% sure if this for me. Is there a transitional call to action, like a PDF download I can get from you and that puts me into your drip campaign? Those are some things I would want to see there also as just like kind of low hanging fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have all that stuff. So like it all makes
Yay.
sense of where I'm just like riffing here and I'm just like, yeah, no, that
Yeah.
totally. Okay. What are the results? You get to use your podcast to generate leads. This is how our clients have been able to do that. These are
Hmm.
the results that they've gotten by not having to worry about their podcast. We're saving them 15 plus hours a month where they can
Hmm.
take that and use that towards getting on those calls, getting those clients, spending time elsewhere with your family, whatever. Not ready
Hmm.
yet? Cool. We have a podcast workflow, the checklist that you can go through to make sure that you're hitting all of those things without having to get full support. And you're able to make sure that you're getting everything done that you need to without feeling overwhelmed because you've checked everything off the list. So yeah, I love that. It's like, yes,
and
of course. Duh.
and then and then also, I guess, finally, are you, obviously you're showing up as the guide, as someone who's been there, done that, and gotten all the t-shirts, and so like you obviously have it belt and suspenders. Are you someone that they're just going to outsource it to and then walk away and never think about it again? They just record and that's it? Or is it a partnership, like a long-term partnership where you're there as a resource and you're talking, like the never podcasting alone again? Or is it just
Mm,
like, I ship it off and you're taking care of it, I don't have to think about it anymore?
yeah. So I'd say it's a combination. Honestly, like some clients
Dealer's
really, we
choice.
do offer strategy. Yeah, we do have strategy sessions that are included no matter what level you're at with us. You get me. And we do monthly calls. And then, or if you're someone who's like, look, just take it and have fun with it, then cool. We will take it and have
Mhm.
fun with it. And most of our clients have been with us for years. So that always
Mhm.
helps of like, once you hit those first 3 months, from there, it's just month over month and you can decide to leave whenever and you will have everything you need to be able to successfully take your show somewhere else. And that's okay. Like we're
Mhm.
very open about that. Take all our
Mhm.
templates, take everything. I don't care. have fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's all right. So your questions are like so good. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So for people who are listening, you just heard Lauren
Yeah.
coach me through that. The story brand. Okay. So with this in mind, we're just going to keep riffing off this because I love it.
Good.
Where do values, like my own personal values for this company, kind of land in here? Because to give you a little background, I am someone who grew up in a cult. Voice has been
Wow.
due to
Say no more.
that suppressed. Yes. Yeah. Say more. I know.
Next
People are always
episode.
like, right? People tend to be like, can I laugh? I'm uncomfortable. I don't really know how to react to this right now. Like, however you feel the need to, it's fine.
Mhm.
So, having grown up that way where my voice was not heard,
Mhm.
people who have systemically or historically been suppressed because of their
Mhm.
voice, women, people of color, etc. That is important. It's important for me that the people we work with are creating messages that make a difference, which is like our kind of like
Mhm.
logo,
Mhm.
messages that are making a difference, messages that are creating an impact in the world. Those are the kinds of people that I want to work with. And it doesn't have to be a massive impact. It could be like we have one client where she helps people with their boundaries. That is impactful. It might not be
Mhm.
millions like some of our other
Mhm.
clients where they're talking to thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people, but this client is still doing such impactful and meaningful work. It doesn't matter the number to me.
Mhm.
It's that we're standing behind her, supporting her to be able to get her message out there. So how do I incorporate that to bring them in without making it about me and my story and my values? Or is there a way to kind of mix it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, dang, I love that so much. In if I can take a sidestep here for a moment and just talk about the beauty of the democratization of information that we've experienced in the last 10 years or so with social media, of course. Oh my gosh, so annoying, but also so beautiful in just the way that everyone has a voice for right, wrong, or
Mm,
indifferent. But
right.
it makes my job selfishly difficult because I have so many places I have to go to share client news. However, that does mean there's a lid for every pot. So that's exciting. But also, amplifying voices that deserve to be heard is such a beautiful mission that I would put that pretty front and center. And I mean, is that who you're really going for in your client demographic? Is it sort of like if that fits you, great. If not, no big deal. We take everybody, or do you really want to specialize in unsung voices?
So I would say 90% of our clients are like aligned with those types of values. The other ones are more like business owners, agencies, that kind of thing, where yes, they have a mission to help other companies do better and create
Mhm.
better,
Mhm.
but it's not as, like you said, unsung stories as
Mhm.
the other larger majority of our clients.
Mhm. Gotcha. Okay. That's fine. I think that's great. It's one of those things that's like sometimes when you're niching down, it's really just about marketing. Like you serve more than that, but you do sort of have to focus at some point.
Right.
But people who are attracted to that, like someone like me, I'm a cishet white woman, but I would firmly plant myself as an ally for underheard voices, very much wanting to amplify others and to make sure that my clients are always understanding what's going on so that they can correctly and authentically communicate. And first rule, do no harm. So making sure that we
Right.
are showing up and that they are showing up in a way that is not harmful and supports them and their teams and clients and so forth. So I digress. But I would say that I would make that very much a part of, like whether it's your tagline, if you think about
Mm.
the primary real estate of your website, which is the header area, it's like the podcasting shop for however you want to couch this group of voices that need to be heard. So it's just like the place for voices that need to be heard, something like that. You can workshop
Mm-hmm.
that. I would say that carving your spot out like that, and so that when someone lands there and they would immediately identify like, oh my God, that's me. Now it might not
Mm.
fit like the avatar you're originally thinking about, but that doesn't mean it's not doesn't fit the category. But yeah, when people land in your spaces, you want them to self-qualify very quickly so that, when they're smashing the consultation button or the buy now button, your cash register, like that they have already been like, I'm where I'm supposed to be. Let's do this. You want people to
Yeah.
like be that gift, like take my money. And if you can do that as quickly as possible, with, we think about that header messaging and all that. If you can put as fine a point on it as possible without just alienating everybody, the
Right.
better. And then as far as like your specific values, there's a time and a place for that. Like it can weave into your content. It's not necessarily top of the fold all the time, but we have our values on our about page of our website because, we're hiring and firing for that, both for clients and for team members. So, obviously it's
Mm.
more of an HR tool, but then if someone's grinding our gears for some reason, we're like, God, what is going on? Like, why am I having an emotional response to this behavior? It's usually a values violation. And that just makes
Mhm.
it a lot easier to be like, hello, so-and-so, you are not, like, one of our core values is strategy first. We're not McDonald's. You can't just order a hamburger from us. Like, we're always going to start with strategy.
Right.
So if someone's like, well, I just want a news release or I just want a social post, it's like, well, that's not what we do here. So you're
Mhm.
not being strategic. We have to take a step back and be strategic first. So just like, even if it's not above the fold, it's like definitely the gas that's going into the vehicle to move you forward.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And I think it's so important to be clear as business owners on
Mhm.
not just our values right behind our business, but the types of people that we want to speak to. And if we are not clear on that, then we're not going to be able to do any of this, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
all the messaging that we're talking about, all of the strategy of the story brand, and like putting that person front and center. We're not going to be able
Mhm.
to do that because we don't know who in the world we're talking about. And I think that it's so important in our messaging that we go back to like, who is that person? What are they struggling with?
Mhm.
What are those fears, desires, frustrations? I mean, you could literally just go to AI and ask, this is who I am. This is my ideal client. Give me a list of 20 fears, frustrations, desires to do this result that you serve. And that'll give you a list of what those fears are. Okay. How can I address those? How can I understand what it is that they're looking for? Because most, especially for coaches, right? It's very elusive sometimes with like, who they help, what they do,
Mhm.
well, where do
Mhm.
I fit as a potential customer in that journey? Because it is it's not like direct results. Like, okay, like what you and I do of, all right, we're going to do your messaging for you. We're going to do your podcast for you. We're going to do your content for you. Yes, there's strategy involved, but it's a result. Whereas it's like, I want to be a better person, right? That's very elusive sometimes. But if you don't know who that person is and what their struggles are and what their fears are, their desires, they're going to self select out before they even realize that they might actually need you, which
Mhm.
does them a disservice because you can actually help them.
Right. I think the more fearless you can be about who you love to serve, the better off. I know, especially when you're getting started or not. I used to work for a company that they were just dead set on being everything to everyone. And you know what?
Mm,
You end up being nothing to nobody.
yeah.
And so even if you're not necessarily being extremely detailed about that in your content or marketing, at least knowing it for yourself is very helpful. And like if you've been in business for a little while, think through, who were your favorite clients or customers and like really like detail out what that looks like. And then like who maybe just felt like oil and water, like one great. And like you're going to see some patterns on both sides. And in my industry and in my business in particular, we do have our niche a little bit looser just because particularly on the PR side, we can't take direct competitors and so the things like that. So we're a little bit broader, but we do have a couple avatars that we're very specific about. And that makes the content we create speak to them, even if it's not like, hey, you small business owner who has at least $1 million in revenue, blah, blah, blah. We're kind of backing into it, because we have that face in
Hmm.
our mind. Don't be afraid to turn away someone who's a bad fit for you. Put whatever you can out there for them to be like, that's not for me. Whether it's your values, like strategy first, because I've had plenty of people call me like, I just want the thing. And I'm like, that's not us. I really don't get those calls anymore because we do lead with strategy. We lead with this is how we're going to serve you and how we're going to stand alongside you. And so for someone who that's not of interest, and there's plenty of people out there, like they're going to go find somebody else. And so I don't want them hitting the book the consultation button. I want them to just bounce
Hmm.
off and go. And so that saves everybody time and headache. And I have colleagues, particularly in StoryBrand, who specialize in just really curating what makes you your own little freak, like, and like really repelling the folks who should not be a part of your club. And I love that. And I think people, when they serve folks for whom they're an authentic fit, it's just life is so much more fun. People remark all the time, actually, like, wow, you have really great clients. I'm like, I know. I love it. We have amazing clients, but we didn't get there overnight.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard part too, right? I mean, I was just talking to a friend just this morning. We were talking about how difficult it is when you get those bad clients. It can really impact how you show up. I remember
Mm-hmm.
it was 2021. We had like 3 really terrible clients in a row after I had been crazy visible. Or maybe it was early 2022. I don't remember. All the years have
What
kind
is
of meshed
time?
together at this point, post COVID. Nobody knows what year it
Yeah.
is. But I had really struggled with being visible anymore because I was like, if I'm being visible,
Mm.
these are the kinds of people that are being attracted to us, and they're doing things that are not like, you make my team cry, I'm going to fight you. like
Mhm,
how
mhm,
in the world
mhm,
do I repel those people? And so I went through and I was like, I need to be more visible. I need to still be the face of the brand. I need to get out there and get new clients. How do I do it while making sure that I'm allowing people to self-select out? So having questions in my intake form like, do you believe in equity for all? This is where our prices start. What is your
mhm,
budget? So that way they're clear. Like, people who book, you're ready to work with us. If you're not, that's okay. We got other resources for you, and that's cool.
mhm,
During the call, getting a really good feel if they already have a podcast, how involved are they currently? Because if they're really involved in their editing, or they're really involved in how the story flows or how the podcast flows, those are not a good fit for us because they're going to micromanage us. And that never is a good idea for me because I'm
mm-mm.
very type A already. So you've got 2 type A people being like, no, you're wrong. It's just
Yeah, that
miserable for
sounds no
everyone.
thanks.
So yeah, exactly. And so then I have to have that conversation, right? As I'm listening to them and saying, honestly, I don't think we're a good fit. This is really how we like to work. This is how we work best. And that's not going to work for you, it doesn't sound like. And they're usually like, yeah, that does sound right. Okay, cool. Like, but neither of us are mad about that fact. It's like, oh, we're saving ourselves headache. Lovely. It's okay.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
creates space for clients who are excited to just say, have fun with it. Here you go. Run. And like, that is
Mhm.
what we want. So yeah, I think it's so important that we are so clear on what we do or don't like. And it takes time. Like you said, you have
Yeah.
to go through some bad ones sometimes to get a good feel of what works and what
Mhm.
doesn't. But don't be like me. Please don't let it stop you from being visible and getting out there. It is not worth it, especially if you want to stay in business. Like, just keep going, keep doing the thing. Thankfully, my team is
Yeah.
along for the ride of all these wonderful ups and downs. But yeah, it's been a journey, and just having to be like very self-aware of, okay, stop holding yourself back. Moving forward.
Mm. It's tough. It's tough. And, I'm a recovering people pleaser. And so telling someone no, that they're not a fit, like I've really had to figure out what that looks like for us. And so I really, unless they're just not a kind person, I have
Right.
referrals for anything, whether it's like, okay, I can't take you because you're a direct competitor to one of my clients, or that's not exactly what we do, or where you are in your business isn't exactly where we are going to be best served to suit you. All those things. Like, I've got plenty of referral partners, so I never have to turn someone away, and that
Right.
feels so much nicer. Like, oh, so sorry, not going to be a fit for us, I don't think, but I've got this great person. They're going to take wonderful care of you, and away they go. So at least we're not just
Yeah.
slamming a door in their face, because I don't like that. And I'm like, oh, great, back to Google, thanks.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's where I think that it is important to have relationships with competitors or colleagues or whatever you want to, people
Hmm.
call them whatever, people in your industry who do similar work to you, because you can easily refer back and forth of people who are not a good fit, especially when you're doing them in such different ways. Right. So like, there are
Yep.
agencies that are podcast production agencies that literally will just take out ums, ers, false starts, and pauses. Whereas that's not what we do. We go
Hmm.
in way more in depth. Oh, did
Hmm.
that guest say something that didn't make sense? Or did they go off on a side tangent? We'll cut it. Like, you don't need to tell us. We got it. Keeping the listener in mind. And like, that's where we love to focus. And we
Hmm.
understand that some people might not want that. Cool. you can go somewhere else and that's okay. That is okay with us. And I'm happy to send them over to someone who's also a woman who is a business owner who's, looking for more clients as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're showing up as a partner and you're optimizing the host and listener experience so that the podcast is as a success and can continue on. It's a lot of effort and lots of nuts and bolts. And if you can make it smooth sailing for them, so they can keep creating great content and listeners can keep getting their earbuds fed, then that sounds like a worthy investment.
Yeah, for sure. And I get that that's not for everyone, right? Some people really want to take that more natural approach, or their listeners want that more natural approach. That's cool. Good. Great.
Yep.
Not for us. And that is a-okay.
Mm-hmm.
This has been so good. Is there anything that we should consider that we haven't talked about with StoryBrand as we're, creating content? Is there anything that we need to make sure that we're like, okay, do this first?
The first thing that popped in my mind, I doubt any of your listeners would do this, but there are some folks who can use the methodology, which is, there's nothing new under the sun. It's from somebody else. They took it from somebody else, but anyway, and made it packaged nicely and easy to understand. Some people out there do use it in a way that's not ethical to really, like one of my colleagues talks about this, where really you're pressing on bruises so that you're using that empathy when you talk to somebody and you make them feel worse versus like, how can you be aspirational rather than like keeping them down where they are? Because, everyone's carrying around baggage and hurts and past negative experiences. And you may be able to help someone through that, but keep shoving their head underwater while you tell them about it is really not where I want people to take this.
Yeah.
I want you to be lifting them up. And so that is an easy knee-jerk way to, like, as you start going through it and you start to build out what's called a brand script, you're taking these 7 parts of the story, which I did not do a beautiful job of walking everyone through, but I gave you a high level. But as you talk through their pain points and you talk through what failure looks like for them, and if you spend too much time there, it's manipulative and it's unkind. So if you can be an ethical communicator and really lift people up rather than pressing on those soft, painful parts, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes. And as someone who grew up in a cult, I also would appreciate that a lot, because that's exactly how that worked and how keeping people where they were, it was just pressing on the failures of the past instead of empowering to move forward in a different way. And that's what keeps people. I was talking to a client recently where he had a strategy session where she was talking through, like, how do I get through this idea of like giving too much information away? And I was like, it's not giving information away if you're saying, here's where you're struggling. Here's a quick win. If you need more custom support, here's how to work with me. There's nothing there's nothing wrong with that. They're not getting your proprietary information. You're giving them value. It's about being able to say, here's what you're feeling. Here's the quick win to give you. And then you can go from there, or you can work with me to learn more or to get more support. And either of those is okay, especially for something like a podcast or social content, right?
Right.
Where if you want to stop them or you want to keep them engaged, you have to be able to give them something in return. It can't just be fluffiness.
Right.
Of like, your struggles.
My favorite is like, I'm going to walk you through a few things and then you're going to realize, oh dear God, I don't want to do that.
Right. Exactly.
Just kidding. You do it.
Never mind. I changed my mind.
Yeah. That sounds horrible.
Good.
Why do you do this for a living?
Right. This has been so fun, Lauren. Thank you so much for indulging me. I usually don't ask more. Like, here's an idea. Let's live coach on the
I was
on
here
the
for it.
podcast
Thank you.
interview.
I'm honored.
Thank you. So I just really wanted people to be able to see themselves right in this, and also talk through my own stuff. It's always fun. It's what a podcast is for. So where can people find you, hang out with you, get to know you if they're interested in what you have to offer and they're like, yes, I need help with this? where can they go?
Absolutely. So for PR, marketing, StoryBrand, all that good stuff, you can find us on our website, which is quedarco.com. That's KWEDARCO.com. And that's our social handle everywhere. Also, there's you'll get a pop-up with a freebie. Then on our freebies tab on the website, we've got lots of, you don't even have to give me your email address. You can have it for free. Some good stuff. Our blog is a great resource. Our emails are great too. I can say that because I'm not writing them. And then, uh, it's not bragging if someone else is doing it. And
Right.
then I would love for you to listen to our podcast too. If you don't want to feel alone on your entrepreneurial journey, The Impatient Entrepreneur, we're on Apple, Spotify, wherever else you might get your podcasts. And then our handle everywhere is The Impatient Entrepreneur Pod. So would love to have you come join us.
Yes, we'll make sure we have links for that in the show notes for anyone who is doing other things while they're listening. Make sure that we have those linked up for you. Again, thank you so much, Lauren.
My pleasure. Thank you.